Hi, Knives and Things here. I recently purchased this Benchmade Knifesmith Multi-bit driver, and it is quite snazzy. Besides one glaring design issue I will dig into later, I love using this driver. So I've owned it since they released it. I think it's been like a month or two now. And I've used it in all my knife maintenance since, and I have even built a desktop computer for myself. And then also, just a disclaimer to you all, I purchased this with my own money, so there's no sponsorship, but I'd hope you would know that since this is a very small channel to begin with. So for size comparison, let's get started here. So let's make some room. Here is a Ontario Knives Rat 2. Here is a Hogue Deca. And here is a Wee Banter. So we're looking at roughly Wee Banter size, just for the handle and the overall length. Here is a regular household screwdriver. This is a Cobalt Phillips size 1. It's the overall length and handle size is very similar, and then especially if we put in a bit real quick, notice the overall length with bit inserted is about the same as a standard household screwdriver. So I think that is, I guess, quite nice that it's fairly standard size. And then here is an iFixit driver. So I can palm them both for you. The Benchmade one is much more ergonomic overall. The ergonomics for this Benchmade driver are just about perfect. I mean, I have a slightly large hand, so keep that in mind as you watch the video. If you have smaller hands, you may run into some difficulties, especially with this spinning cap. So you may want to go find yourself a regular screwdriver and think if you can palm it, that's about more what the experience would be like for this Benchmade. The diameter is comfortable but not unwieldy. It's not like you're gonna be fumbling around. It's a good length where you can palm the spinning cap and grip the handle. The rubber accents add a perfect amount of grip as opposed to this hard blue kind of slidey plastic. It has a bit of texture, but the amount of grip from the rubber is quite nice. As for bits, you can go look up the specific bits. You're going to anyways. So it comes with some Phillips, some flatheads, some Torx, and a couple of hex bits. The neat thing though is that it comes with an awl. So here we'll put in the awl. So it's a sharp pointy bit, and I find this bit to be very handy. Actually, I don't know why everyone just doesn't include an awl as a bit. It's genius. I use this to kind of push and align the washers, the phosphor bronze washers during pivot assembly. These are standard 4mm bits, so I can show you it. I'll fit it in a Weehaw, and then for a comparison, this Weehaw bit is the same length as, it's magnetic, as the Benchmade bits. Getting closer in, the Benchmade bits do have the Benchmade kind of logo on them. It's hard to see through this view on the camera since it's glaring, and then they have the logo, the label of what size printed on it. So the heat treat of the Benchmade bits are just a tad bit soft. So here is the T6. I sacrificed my T6 for you guys, so don't say I didn't do anything for you. But I did put this in a, where is it? I put it in my buck, and I bared down on it, and yeah, it warped and stripped fairly easily, whereas my T6 Weehaw, wherever it ended up, here it is. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. It was able to go into that same screw and drive much harder and not be able to warp or strip. So it is a softer bit. It's actually about It's really similar if you've ever used the iFixit bits, and actually it's the reason I own the WeHa bits, because I used the WeHa bits to replace the iFixit bits when they failed. So keep that in mind. Generally, if you are only using this for actual knife repair or maybe small electronics, it is going to be more than enough for you. But if you do anything more than that, these bits are a bit soft. One good consideration that I really like that Benchmade did is that these bits are a bit close together, so adding this milling halfway down the bit just gives you a little bit more room to get your hand in there to pull the bit out. I do quite like that. I have loaded this with WeHa bits, and it is just a bit more difficult to get your finger in there to pull them out. As for quality, this one is a doozy, so strap in. First, I'd like to mention that the cap sits loosely on the end, even taking into consideration that it is pressed into a bearing. See, there's quite a lot of wiggle. Now, it is just pressed into a bearing. I'm fairly certain that's the only way it's being held in, but they could have used a tighter bearing. It doesn't need to be this loose. It is very free spinning. They could have used a tighter bearing or one with a better packing to kind of keep this a bit more rigid, and had just as good of an experience with turning it, in my personal opinion. And then that also gets into the play in the overall bit storage. If I hold this down, I can show there's a good amount of play in the bit storage itself. I'll get a bit more into that later, but with all this play, in your hands, it really does feel more like maybe a $30 driver when you're actually holding it. It's a bit plasticky, a little bit loose feeling, but when you're actually, I guess, the business end feels very high quality and tight and sturdy, but the bit holder feels like a bit more of an afterthought in some of the design. So getting back to this play in the bit holder, and this is my major gripe, is that the handle is a friction fit onto the shaft. Now you may think, okay, whatever, you know, fine. But what does this mean for you, you may be wondering? Good question, random viewer. It means that if you drop this from maybe, let's say, waist height, and it lands tip down, the handle will slide down the shaft. When this happened to me, I needed to pound it very hard into a hard flat surface to get the handle back on. When it was slid down, I could close the bit holder all the way. You could feel it snap in, but there would still be a massive gap and a lot of play. So that was quite frustrating, and I thought that I had actually broken it before I realized that I could just slam it back down, which I did, and now it's back in working order. And it is a very tight grip. They did not expect people to do this. They did not expect it to drop. But this all could have easily been avoided by adding some sort of knurling or a shank that this would sit into, where the handle sits against the shaft. Right? I do understand that. I guess this design makes servicing easier, considering they can just, if this handle breaks, they could pull it off and press on a new one, or vice versa. They could take a good handle. I mean, they could take your old handle and press it onto a broken bit holder. So that makes it easier. They could have also used a set screw to achieve the same thing. I would have preferred that, at least anything over what they did. Personally, I like that it's not ratcheting. I've always wanted a good quality driver with bit storage that's not ratcheting. I get that some people like ratcheting, and if you do, there are plenty of options out there. Just go get a snap-on or an LTT screwdriver. I don't know why you're here if you are in that group. They're similar price, possibly better quality, and I feel like Benchmade narrowly missed the marks here. Some of the quality feels questionable. The overall design is amazing, and I know that they can make up for some of the issues with their warranty that I'm sure they'll honor. Also with the quality concerning the bits themselves, they're a bit soft, so if you're hard on them, you should really just steer clear of this driver. Otherwise, you're going to keep having to send them in for warranty or keep buying replacements. I don't know how Benchmade is going to handle that, since these are going to break rather often. Considering the price, I shouldn't have to be worried about things like dropping it from waist high. It's going to happen. I'm surprised they didn't just... Oh, sorry, back to the bits. I'm surprised they didn't just team up with Weehaw on making the bits. They do similar collabs with, like, Worksharp, for example, for making sharpeners. I can see why maybe they wanted to do this themselves. I don't know exactly who makes this, or if Benchmade makes it all in-house. But they could have easily just said, hey, Weehaw, you make good bits. Put your bits in our driver. No innuendos meant there. Sorry, just thought I'd clear that up. And for my final thoughts, I wanted to bring up some legal and logistical concerns. So the first concern is Benchmade corporate stance is that working on your knife could void your warranty. They also claim that if you send in a disassembled knife, they will charge you $20 for repair. Mostly just to reassemble it. Then once it's reassembled, they don't care, nor do they have a way to track if you have personally worked on your knife. So this is likely just to protect Benchmade from negligent customers, but this does raise a question. Why sell a Knifesmith driver if you claim that it could void the warranty? I would keep this in mind when you're purchasing this. My second concern is Benchmade's warranty on some pages only claims coverage over knives. They are a knife manufacturer, so this makes sense. On other pages, it claims lifetime warranty over all Benchmade products. So Benchmade needs to align their warranty verbiage as they venture out to other types of products. This could save them legal headaches, and it could also protect the consumer in many cases. So I'm sure they'll honor their warranty for this product, but some cleaning up of the website would be very appreciated at Benchmade if you're listening. And then in conclusion, love the design. I dislike the overall feel and quality, but Benchmade can lean on their warranty if needed. Those are my final thoughts, so thanks for watching. Please leave a comment. I'm curious what you guys think. This really came out of left field from Benchmade. Everyone's kind of getting into drivers now, but anyways, thanks. Bye.